Hey friends, I'm back. Gonna be making some risotto tonight. One of my favorite meals of all time. There's so many ways to make them, so I'm gonna show you just a simple way of how risotto is made. Nice, quick, and easy way of making it for your family. So we're gonna get our pan heated up in there. A little olive oil, some butter if you'd like. We're gonna sweat our onions and garlic mixture in there. What I mean by sweating, it just means using a nice low heat just to extract the moisture. So you get a nice like moisture bath of onion. It's different from caramelizing where you're trying to get a nice color on them. We want them to get translucent. Best way to achieve that is to put it on low setting and use a lid. That here. You don't want to get your oil too hot, so if you hear that little crackle, it's all good. You don't want to saute. Just working around a bit. Turn your heat down nice and low. That'll take a few minutes. In the meantime, you can start to get all your prep together. So I'll go through a lot of the other ingredients needed. So this is for my risotto. It's actually not risotto. This is called arborio rice. It's a type of rice grain. So usually risotto gets lumped into pasta dish, but it's technically a rice dish. Arborio rice is really starchy. So I know some people, you can see kind of getting some starch on my fingers. This is what's going to help that, if you've had risotto before, get that nice, beautiful, rich starchiness, that creaminess that is associated with the dish. A lot of it comes from the starch, the natural starches. In the actual rice, you'll see when we put liquid into liquid, add liquid to it, you're going to see the liquid get nice and cloudy, nice like a creamy, cloudy liquid that it cooks in. Most importantly, this is the cheese, Parmesan cheese that I've grated, Parmesan or Reggiano. It's the king of cheeses. It's my favorite, and it's very essential. As well as butter. You need to have nice diced butter. This is a salted butter. But the main thing right now is to keep them cold. You don't want to keep them at room temperature. I'll show you why at the very end when you're finishing off. This is what we finish the risotto with. So we're going to put those in the fridge. So a lot of classic recipes call for an acid as well. So you can use like a white wine or dealcoholized white wine or a fortified wine. But you don't want to use red because it just changes the color too much. Make sure that your parents approve. And we're going to cook that out so you'll have nothing to worry on that side. Obviously some olive oil, some really good olive oil if you have it. Another important ingredient is stock. So this is my chicken stock that I'm using. You can use a veggie stock, you can have a beef stock if you'd like. What I like to do is keep my stock hot though. If you're adding cold water and room temperature stock or cold stock to your risotto, because you're gonna have to do it in stages. You have to keep adding it as it reduces, as you'll come to see. It drops the temperature dramatically if you're just putting in cold stock, and then it just takes longer for you to make your risotto. So I don't want that to happen. So just a nice light, see, they're not frying up, they're just sweating. I put the garlic in at the same time as well. Another important thing I want to mention is the size of pan. So this is about a cup and a quarter of our arborio rice. I'm going to be just making this risotto as a side, so you can make it as a dish where that's the main dish. You can add mushrooms and seafood or whatever you like to it. This is just going to be a side. It's going to be nice and plain. We're going to make it with some salmon and some vegetables. So the main thing for your pot size is you want to have the appropriate size for how much you're going to be cooking. So obviously, just like pasta or even rice, this is going to dramatically increase in size. All right, so it's not going to, the volume is going to increase. If you have a shallow pot, like a tall one or a small pot, then it's going to be harder. Your risotto is going to be really mushy. If you have a really shallow, like a flat, bigger pot for only a small amount, then your risotto is going to cook. The liquid's going to cook out quicker, and it's before the rice actually cooks. You're going to need about a half-hour cooking time for this to work appropriate. So I got a nice medium-sized saucepan for this. So as you can see, it's getting nicely translucent. So that was about a few minutes there of sweating my onions, no color. So now, what we want to do is with the oils and the liquid, we want to cover that up. So we want to stir that really carefully, but liberally make sure everything's covered with some oils, nothing sticking to the pan. And then we'll turn this heat up. So now that we've got that sizzle, I'm going to add my acid there, which is my fortified wine. When you're making dishes like this, it's important to, when you're adding your liquid, you want to bring it up to a boil, but you want to simmer. There's very few things that you really actually boil. Maybe eggs and pasta, that's about it. Most things actually just simmer. So you can use a ladle. That's what I think I'll do to make it. So just after a couple minutes, the liquid has reduced dramatically. And as I was saying, you can see there's not much liquid left. It's just reducing and absorbing in the rice. So I want to get some more in right away. This one I'm just going to put a nice liberal amount. You can do that in the beginning, just because it's going to use a lot of liquid at the beginning. You don't have to worry about drowning it or over putting too much liquid in there at the very beginning, because it's going to take a while for your rice to get cooked and nice and tender. So I've let that go for about 15 minutes. Now you can see we're almost there. A lot of the liquid is gone. It's nice and creamy. Depending on how creamy you want your risotto is up to you in terms of liquid. Mine is right about, let me just give it a touch. So as that finishes, get my final ingredients. This is probably the most important part. I put some thyme in there. Love thyme. So now it's just absorbing. So this is the most important part. When you're putting the butter in, the reason why you put the butter in cold is because if you just put it in hot, then it's going to separate into the oils and the milk solids, and you get that just when you put butter into a frying pan. It turns clear. You want this to stay milky, so we're actually going to add this cold butter with no heat. It's just going to use the residual heat, the heat that's left over in this pan. I'm going to season that. A final hit of pepper. And same with the cheese. You don't want the cheese to melt or like fry up or separate. You just want it to melt gently so it melts into a nice creamy body of the risotto. So I've turned the heat off. This is about 2 tablespoons of butter, cubed, nice and cold. And then all we're going to do is stir that around. You can see now there's no heat on the bottom. Element is off. You can see the butter just melting slowly. That's exactly what we want. Now it's just creamy goodness there. See it? I'm just stirring that around and around until I don't see any butter chunks. You can see the sticky gooiness of the cheese, kind of the stringiness of the cheese starting to happen. That's gonna stay hot. The other thing with risotto, when you've made it, it doesn't really reheat well the next day because you've already put the butter and the cheese in, and when you try to reheat it, it just doesn't, that creaminess doesn't come back. One of the things you can try if you really want it is just a little bit of cream, whipping cream, 35%, and put that in, and it gets the creaminess back. So let's make sure that this is where it should be at. That's risotto. I'm gonna put that with some vegetables and some salmon that I have in the oven right now. And I'm going to really enjoy this. One of my favorite meals, as I mentioned. So thanks for joining me again, and I'll talk to you soon.